Hello, families, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Makers Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me I have an amazing lady, Miss Anaiis Salles. Did I say that correctly, Anais? I just want to make sure.
Yes, you did. And
All right.
thank you for sharing this time with me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. Anais, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Parents, listen up. This amazing lady has been in our community for a while. I love how she shows up. Anais, do you mind telling them a little bit more about what you do and how you got involved doing that? And then we'll go from there.
Well, how I got involved doing this is just being really curious about life. And that includes creativity. And so I'm always encouraging parents to remember how important it is for children to have playtime and creative time.
Right.
So that's how my journey began. And it took me through many, many adventures around the world, helping other people, helping their children in sometimes pretty dire circumstances, and then developing a holistic practice. And now I'm the founder of an organization called Living Lessons Library. And my goal is to assist parents and families developing safe communities, especially in my community of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Beautiful. This is really, really important because for us grown-ups, we don't realize that there's a lot of learning involved in the process of creation and play and things like that. And one of the worst things that I personally feel we do to the kids is we take away their love of learning as we put them through academia and they're structured to be good social citizens, but in the process, they lose their zest for life. So I really appreciate the fact that you've chosen to focus on this area. Now, what are some of the typical things that you see within your organization when it comes to children? And also, let's focus on the fact that how old are these kids, basically, and the programs that you work on?
Well, the kids are anywhere from early adolescence, sometimes younger, into their early adult. They're going off to college, they're in high school. And I'm working most usually with their parents who are having communication challenges.
Mhm.
And these gaps can be really sizable. So often I will take parents through opportunities first and then bring in the children. And right now I'm really focusing on the social isolation in our adolescents and young adults who had such a struggle during the pandemic.
Right.
And their whole opportunity to move into one-on-one relationships as they're exploring that in their adolescent years. I have a lot to offer in that area. Plus, I'm a certified Montessori education.
Beautiful.
I love that um, opportunity to be with children in that way and never let go of creativity and play. It's important even when you're 100 years old.
Beautiful. And I'm really glad that you're saying this because some people might not know what the Montessori system is. And also the fact that you said you're working with adolescents and teenagers, where when we think about play, we're assuming that, oh, this must be little kids and the older ones are too cool to learn and too cool. And that's not the case, right? So tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the adolescent's mind and how the parents can connect with them better.
Well, that's a time of individuation. It's a very delicate time. It's in
Right.
a time of individuation. It's a time of hormonal changes. It's a time of new social challenges in school that have to do with how we function, how the neurology functions, how our neurocircuitry functions, and how we learn to fully feel who we are, our emotions, and how to make that part of our creativity plan. So
Right.
I see emotional energy as being very key to how we move through life every day. And adolescents, particularly as their hormones are changing, need a lot of support in this area. They also need private time.
Right.
They need private time. And I encourage parents to um, introduce books, introduce ideas, make sure their children have opportunities to appreciate music, if not learn how to play an instrument, to appreciate art, if not learn how to access community art lessons and music lessons. I benefited from this enormously when I was a young person. I
Mm.
went to a art and music camp for several years where I met my peers with fantastic adults who respected our growing challenges, but absolutely supported our ability to be creative and play.
I love the fact that you're mentioning this about arts and music. I often talk about, especially music, I play myself as a second language, as a way of expressing yourself. And sometimes, especially with teenagers, words might not be able to come out, but being able to have an avenue where you can express is oftentimes really, really important. And usually, when you're talking about kids that are thinking about college and what they have to do to themselves so they would be college worthy, oftentimes can hinder who they are or how they want to be seen in the world, both by their peers and their parents. So I really am glad that you're putting light onto this really important topic that many times is overlooked by college community, academic community, and parents in this important phase.
And I think one of the communication spaces, because culture is always changing, is to take the time to have your young person, your child, your young adolescent share with you what music is touching them and moving them and influencing them, and take the time to listen to that with them and take them. I took, my kids are grown now, but I went to the concerts that I would never have attended myself. But I wanted to respect their individuation and be able to enjoy their music with them, to be able to enjoy films which have such a profound influence on our children, to enjoy those with them, and to be able to have wonderful, engaging conversations as well as have fun with our
Mhm.
kids. It's a huge space, and sometimes it's neglected in favor of intellect. And our children can easily get out of balance.
So, what are some of the challenges that you see between parents that oftentimes surface? And um, it's I know it's a trying time. I have a teenager myself. That's you've had a relationship and certain things worked. Oftentimes, I know, especially in Montessori circles, they refer to adolescence as a repeat of an earlier era or earlier age of development for the kids. That is like in their what,
Mm.
like 4 or 5 years old or something like that when they're younger, basically. And
Mm.
they regress back to that. So what are some of the challenges in establishing this new relationship for parents?
I don't think the children regress as much as they go through a connected phase of development. In the early part, they're developing their sense of individuation physically. They're learning what happens when they touch, when they walk, when they run. They're
Mhm.
developing their physicality as the basis for the next phase, which is the individuation of their emotional life, their intellect, their spirit, what excites them, and the connections that they then are able to take their bodies out into the world and go into this next level of individuation. So I think if we look at it that way, it's not a regression, it's an expansion of a
Yes.
foundation that they are really needing our support, sometimes now more hands off than when we were holding their hands when they were toddling, as we encourage their individuation, their independence. Do you want to learn how to drive a car? What are the boundaries of healthy boundaries in social engagements? Let's talk about these things, but let's talk about them over dinner or while we're in the kitchen cleaning up or while we're going for a walk together or a bike ride or a picnic or some family unifying energy where we can relax and at the same time recognize that our adolescent is changing and they are becoming their own new person. Don't assume that you know them in the way that you've known them before, because that's not who they are anymore.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Very awesome. Very cool. I'm enjoying this conversation. There's hope for us.
There absolutely is. And there's joy and there's pleasure and
Yes.
there's sustainable connection.
Let's talk about boundaries with teenagers as well while we're on the topic, because it's a little different than before.
Mhm.
So how do parents set boundaries in this situation?
Well, if the communication has been good from the beginning and there's been respect as well as the need to control, because we do have to control certain things,
Mhm,
we can begin to navigate the space of what we control and what we teach our young people to learn to control, and also how to relax. So, boundaries for me are you safe physically? Let's have conversations about your physical safety. How do you care for your body? How do you let me know if there's something going on with your body that feels off or wrong or unusual to you?
mhm,
How do we talk about that together? So parents can model that. They can say, this happened when I was your age, and this was something that I wanted to talk to my mother or father about, but I couldn't. And I want to let you know that I'm able to speak with you about this. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. It's not a place of shame, judgment, or insecurity. Let's be clear, open, and honest with each other. I'm here for you. So, physical safety, I think talking about social safety, and certainly about when the hormonal opportunities kick in, to talk about the safety that's involved in more intimate relationships and how to respect your boundary, how to say yes, how to say no, and how to get help when your no and your yes are not being acknowledged.
mhm.
Children need to have this core foundation of this is me, this is what acceptable, and this is when I need to get help. And my parents are there to help me.
Well said. All right. Important topics, all of them. So let's focus on maybe some tips for parents as far as things that they could do to facilitate this process.
Patience, of course, is first and foremost. Observing your child, having, I say, no less than a 20 or 15-minute conversation daily as a check in. You want to know what's happened for them during the day.
Mhm,
I think that a tip for a parent is to ask questions
mhm,
about what's new, what's happening. I want to make sure I'm up to speed with you this week. In addition to, I'm going to your concert, I'm going to the meeting with your teacher.
mhm,
So, communication, communication, communication in a lighthearted way, and just the check ins. And then noticing if you see your child in a new mode that is emotional, or they're having a sharing with you a new challenge in the area of school or social engagements. Notice if your child seems to be showing an innate tendency to be shy or very outgoing, and how do you support the natural tendency of your child to relate in that way, and how do you make sure they recognize that that's okay, and there are other ways to get people to interact with them. And these days we have people who are dealing with children with all kinds of new normatives, and it's really wonderful to respect that, but also get educated as a parent on how you might want to handle those new normatives. This includes sexual orientation. This can include autism. This can include special needs of all kinds.
mhm.
So, parents, it's on you to lead the way. Parents are leaders in families, and we help our children become leaders in their own lives.
Right. Anais, you mentioned conversation. I wanted to ask this on behalf of the parents. Um, do you, because we are at this transition point generationally, that we are from the old world, the real world, and now we have the virtual world.
Yes.
So what is your advice when it comes to this conversation? Do we go to where the kids are and converse with them there, or do we bring them out into the real world to have conversations?
I think it has to be both.
Got it.
And I do think that it's really a wise thing as a child is 7, 8, 9 years old to begin to set boundaries and limitations on how much your child is allowed into the virtual world
Mhm.
and how much they're allowed into that alone.
Well said. Very cool. Awesome. This can go in so many different directions, and time is short, of course. So, how can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Well, I'm happy to be discovered on LinkedIn, and I'm there as Anaiis Salles, and my profile is there. And you'll see that my banner says "Mind the Gap," because I think that's good advice for all of us. And I'm there if you want to get in touch with me. I'm happy to have conversations with folks from your community, just to be a support or sometimes a listening ear, and also to do more comprehensive digging and reforming of foundations if that's something they were interested in.
Sounds good. Very cool. Guys, I will put that information in the description box of this video. So please go down, click more, and see all the information that Anaiis has provided, along with some other stuff as well. Take the time to connect and role model the behavior that it is okay to connect to people, that there are good people in this world that want to support us, that want to make the world a better place. And we need to role model that behavior that, hey, we don't have all the answers, but it's okay to ask for help. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe so that you get notified of all the experts that come on the channel. Like Anaiis, share their expertise and gifts with you. Anaiis, this has been delightful. Any final words for our audience members before we finish today?
Yes, I want to share with you that I'm the mother of two amazing adult sons. One of them is a private investment banker who attended university at Yale, and my other son is an amazing political, sensitive, great dad who recently chose to run for public office where we live. These,
Congratulations.
I'm telling you, and trust me when I say there were challenges, but the love is always the place to return to.
That is wonderful. Well said. Thank you so much. And we could all learn something about empowering our children to find their voice, find their identity, and know what they stand for and what they stand against. So thank you. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye bye.